Shadrick!
We're throwing back to Nintendo days with Joe today. Welcome in. It's Jaguars Happy Hour. I'm JP Shadrick. We've got a busy hour ahead as we are 2 weeks to the NFL Draft. Jaguars analyst Jeff Lageman coming up. Trevor Sikkema will join us from Pro Football Focus, and we'll get his thoughts on the NFL Draft and some prospects from different position groups the Jaguars might be leaning towards in the 2023 NFL Draft. We'll go around the NFL also. Jeff Lageman joining us now, and here we are 2 weeks out. Logs, what's up, man? How we doing?
I'm a little confused. I didn't get the mushroom thing. It's a what? What is this reference to?
You never played Nintendo, did you? Mario Brothers? I think there's a movie out now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching my son play the Mario Kart. So, and is that something that's like in the game, the mushrooms and the princess?
It's been a while, but yes.
Okay, all right. Explain yourself, Joe.
I think he. Yeah.
You know what? I would have bet all the money in the world you would have got it, and he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because we had a discussion earlier about Jeremy Renner, and he has no idea. He claims he has no idea who the Avengers are.
I don't watch that stuff.
What?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
You don't know who the Avengers are?
I had never heard of that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you're not, you're not with the pop culture,
I'm locked
JP.
in.
I can tell you right now.
Yeah. Let me tell you. He said I got to get out more. I'm like, why? Do I really have to? I don't think so.
No, you don't have to. But it'd probably be good for you.
Would it?
Yeah.
I don't know if it would.
Yeah, it might be.
I think I'm good.
Might be.
Sheltered. That's fine. 2 weeks away. We're inside a week now from the start of the off-season program. How about that? So phase one, strength and conditioning, starts officially April 17th. That's Monday. Players will come in. They'll do some physicals. It's voluntary. If they show up, they can do all that.
Correct.
Then they can start the strength and conditioning, and here we go. It's here.
Well, let me just say this. It's not like the players have been just hanging out at home and eating Cheetos in their underwear on the couch watching commercials and cartoon reruns. I mean, it's
the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They have been, for the most part, all of these guys are working out, and when I say working out, they're hardcore working out. I mean, the biggest gains that you make, for the most part, as a player, physically happen from the time the season concludes, which can be middle of January, can be first part of February, but that February through April window is really when you can get some really, really good work in. When I say good work, as far as like strength building stuff, you're building
gaining mass and doing all
the
that.
Mass, the size, the strength, because once you kind of get into the football side of things, you're not going to make as many gains because you're dedicating a lot of your energy towards practice and the techniques of playing the game. You can still work on it to some extent, but you can really get after the hardcore strength and conditioning stuff in that February, March window. As a lot of players do. I mean, most of these guys nowadays, they don't quit. When the season ends, they might take a week or so and have a little time to kind of recover. And then after that, they're for the most part, working with personal trainers or personal training facilities and getting after it.
Nonstop, of course, a couple weeks for phase one, that's strength conditioning. Then a couple weeks phase two. There is some on-field stuff, but nothing against a defender or anything like that. And then phase three, OTAs. That starts May 22nd. That's only a month or so out.
Yeah, and I like the way that the collective bargaining agreement has kind of made everything very standard for all the teams. And obviously there's a little distinction when you have a new coach. You're allowed a little bit extra when you have a new coach and staff. But I like the way that the NFLPA and ownership has agreed upon this collective bargaining agreement. And Baselli would argue against it because he likes to see more of the practice stuff. But I like it to where it's controlled because you still have plenty of opportunity for practice with the OTAs and the mandatory mini camp. And a lot of that goes throughout the month of May and into June, and then you get a little bit of a break, and you're right back at it again in July.
It's 13 total practices from OTAs and the 3-day mini camp if you want them all. And
correct.
Of course, last year, Doug Peterson said, hey, veterans, we're not going to do much on the mandatory mini camp days.
The coaches like to quote, throw a bone to the veteran guys, and because when one coach does it and other teams don't get it, then there are other players like, I don't want to say groaning, but are a little bit maybe jealous of other teams that get a little bit more time off. But it's great work, and it's good to have the OTA stuff. I love it, and the Tom Coughlin rule is also in place now, which prohibits teams from having their OTAs and their mini camp and then starting training camp earlier than what it was designed to start.
I feel like there's a few Tom Coughlin rules, that being
That's
one
the big
of
one.
them, right?
That's the big one.
There's probably a few.
Yeah, well, back in 1995, to give the quick story here, in 1995 you had your required days or your voluntary days of on-the-field activities, which is basically OTAs. And then you had your mini camps. Well, Tom exhausted all of those, and then once we finished our last mini camp, he was handing out plane tickets, or they were handing out plane tickets, the staff were, to the players to report to Stevens Point, Wisconsin. It was actually, I think, 5 or 6 days prior to the mandatory report date. So he was essentially trying to get sneak in an extra 5 or 6 days more than every other team in the league. And so the league had to come in after that season and then say, look, all right, we can't have, okay, you're allowed to have 14 days in this window and then you can start training camp. You can't start training camp earlier. So that, I call that the Tom Coughlin rule.
Loophole.
They
loophole.
closed it up.
In a hurry.
Closed it up.
Jeff, do you buy the any chemistry that's built in the off-season program? Can that carry over?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when guys spend time together, they feel obligated to perform for one another. And that's important. A lot of times if you have guys that just come in together in August or July when training camp starts, and then a lot of time they're spending that time getting to know one another. Sometimes the unspoken words is a very strong way of communicating with guys. And so when you are alongside somebody, you know what the expectations are. You kind of get to understand some of the body language, just with a look on a face sometimes between a wide receiver and a quarterback. If Christian Kirk is looking out there and he sees Trevor and Trevor gives him one particular kind of look, Christian's going to know it without really even he's not a lip reader or anything, but he can read the facial expression because they spent time together before. But absolutely.
And that's I think Doug Peterson, a few people talked about it at the end of the season. The next step for this offense is those little nuances and taking the next step.
Well, that's exactly.
That's where it builds.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah. I mean, for example, let's say there was a route adjust on there's a coverage and there's a route adjust, and Trevor kind of just gives him a wink, and Christian knows what that wink is because they've worked on it in the offseason together above and beyond just trying to learn the standard scheme. So, I mean, this is, again, it's we talked about this before, but I call it the next level stuff. When you're getting the game plan and understanding the game plan, you're at the 101 level. Then all of a sudden, now you start going up to the 201, to 301, to 400 level and 500 level classes. And now you can really take your offense and your productivity to a new level because you have a lot of that stuff that's already been kind of worked over and gone over. And now it's understood. Now you're working on more stuff.
It's like one of those meme winks where it's like, yeah, hey, I'm throwing to, throwing to you, Zay.
Right.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's those looks, man. And I will say this too. A lot of times a quarterback has to learn how guys run routes. Just for example, with Calvin Ridley.
It's going to take a little time.
The time that they can spend together this offseason, the more hitting the ground running kind of a theme here when you get to the regular season, because if you can spend time running the routes now, Trevor can understand how he runs the routes, but also Calvin Ridley can understand how Trevor wants the routes run, how the coaching staff wants the routes run. And Trevor may know exactly where Calvin Ridley can really excel, where ball placement. I mean, things like that. You can't make chemistry unless you have the time spent together. The TST. If you don't have that, then it's hard to create all that chemistry.
It's Jaguars Happy Hour on 1010XL AM, Jaguars.com. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman coming up in about 10 minutes. Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus on the Jaguars at number 24 in the first round of the NFL Draft and what could be available. Well, on Draft Night Logs, it's the 2023 Duval Draft Party. It's presented by Donovan Air, Electric, and Plumbing. Gates open at 7 o'clock. Register at jaguars.com/official draft party. We're going to be all over it on Jaguars Media Logs. This is always a fun event. It's in the bowl at Daly's Place, and you can watch the draft on, I think, NFL Network, and there's all kind of entertainment throughout the evening. Head coach Doug Peterson is scheduled to make an appearance on stage before the pick is made at 24. So you'll get to hear from the head coach, select Jaguars players throughout the night. I think last year, Tyson Campbell, I think, was there, right? Because
there was about 6 or 7 guys, that came up on stage.
Which was cool to see. So you get a chance to see a bunch of the Jags. No worries.
Yeah, and they interacted with the fans and everything. It was
awesome.
Cool.
So Jags Radio will be there. We'll have all night long the Jags Draft Radio Show. And, of course, Jaguars.com coverage after every pick throughout the weekend. And, yeah, you need to register now because that's going to be a fun night, Logs.
Well, the good thing, I guess you could say, is that the party's going to last a little bit longer this year.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, because we're not going to have the first pick and then it's over. You know, that's so right. I mean, that's a good thing about it. And so now you can actually, and there's a lot of excitement building towards what's going to happen at the beginning of the draft with the quarterbacks. And there's a couple teams in the Jaguars division that we'll be watching very closely. So there's a lot of reasons to come out. And it's also going to be good for beer sales and everything else there because the Jaguars are not picking early.
How about last year? Yeah, party's over, first pick. Okay. Wait, the Jags traded back into the first round.
A lot of people are already gone.
It was closed. Like we had to do the update in an empty place.
Yeah, we had a pretty good idea that the Jaguars could trade back into round 1 to make another pick, and they ended up doing that and getting Devin Lloyd. And by that time, a lot of people were like, all right, they had already headed out. But
which
Devin
pick
Lloyd,
was that? 24,
27?
It was in the
I don't remember exactly.
Close to where the Jaguars are going to be 2 weeks from now. So that's the time of night it's going to be. Pretty late.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting draft just from the quarterback standpoint because you got the two quarterbacks at the top, which are going to be Young and then Bryce Young and Stroud. Those two guys are going to go 1-2. I don't know how exact order I would pick Stroud if I had the first pick, but Bryce Young, your guy at Alabama, is
my
an
guy.
exceptional.
Why do you keep saying my guy?
He's an Alabama guy.
I went there 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're JP. You are an Alabama guy, and don't act like you're not.
I went there. I'm not claiming
I know, but you could sit there and give me the entire life history of Bryce Young.
No, I couldn't do that.
You probably could. You could, but you're an Alabama guy, so I know he's your guy. But my point is that at the top of the draft, it's going to be, I think, very interesting with the 1-2 quarterbacks because it's going to go 1-2. I'm pretty sure. I don't know exact order, but then all of a sudden is the interesting question is what's going to happen with the other 3 quarterbacks that are viewed as can't miss first round picks. Anthony Richardson, the guy that's got all this immense talent, who's a great athlete. Kind of the rebirth of Cam Newton. What's going to happen with Levis, the Kentucky quarterback, or Hendon Hooker, the quarterback from Tennessee? I mean, it's going to be interesting.
When we come back, we'll hear from somebody who talks about this on a daily basis. Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sikkema. We'll get his thoughts at the top of the draft, what the Jaguars could do at 24. Calling all Jaguars fans, elevate your game day experience with Vine 04 Napa Valley, the official wine club of the Jaguars. Sip on handcrafted Napa Valley wines and show your team pride with every pour. Visit vine04.com and sign up to receive 3 or 6 premium Napa Valley wine bottles twice a year, along with exclusive access to private events and complimentary tastings. Join the Vine 04 Club today and toast to the Jags legacy with every sip. Pro Football Focus host and analyst Trevor Sikkema explains the Jags options at number 24. That's next on Jaguars Happy Hour.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ready to go nuts? Fresh, hot, salty, boiled peanuts. The roadside sand flavor that made the South famous is now available at all Jaguars home games. The Ray Peanut Company puts a little South in your mouth with the briny perfection of their original recipe or peppery kick of their authentic Cajun recipe. Packed with protein and superfood nutrition, they're the MVP of snacks. Get them at the game or from your grocer's freezer and enjoy them at home. Go Jags, go Ray, go nuts.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
The Ford Spring Sellathon is here. It's the one sales event you don't want to miss. Time to get up and get into Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks 46 years straight. Get a great deal on a new Ford F-150 with available Pro Power onboard that gives you the power of a mobile generator. Or get low financing on a spacious new Ford SUV designed to help you make the most out of the extra daylight. But don't wait. These deals won't last long. It's the Spring Sellathon, only at your local Ford dealer. Based on 1977 to 2022 CY total sales.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Jacksonville Sports Talk for Jacksonville sports fans. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome back. It's Jaguars Happy Hour. It is Thursday, 2 weeks to the NFL Draft. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, glad you're along with us. David Cho, Brent Reber on the video side, Joe Fortunato on the audio. 2 weeks to the draft. That means it is prime time for our guest tonight, host and analyst for Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sikkema, joining us now. Good to talk to you again, Trevor. And boy, I don't know if you're excited for this thing to finally get here or to be over, or is this is your wheelhouse right now, right?
It's a good mix of both. I appreciate you guys having me on. Always fun to talk ball with you guys. But yeah, it's a good mix of both. Whenever you get into the month of April, you definitely can't wait for it to be over. But at the same time, getting to do stuff like this and talk about the possibilities of what is the upcoming NFL draft, that's the fun part. So I definitely enjoy it along the way, no matter where we are in the process.
Trevor, the intrigue at the top of the draft with really the four big quarterbacks with Stroud and Young and Levis and Richardson, where do you think that these kind of cards are going to fall at the top of the draft?
Yeah, I think Bryce is going to go number one. I felt like it was very interesting that Carolina immediately trades up to number one overall, and then we hear about all the other quarterbacks. Oh, they could be in on Stroud. Oh, they're going to love Anthony Richardson's potential. Oh, maybe some people in the building love Levis. Nobody was talking about Bryce, and I think it's because we were bored. And I really do think that when it's all said and done, Bryce Young is going to be the number one quarterback and the number one pick in this draft. I don't think that C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson are going to be too far behind. I think those guys are destined for the top 5 as well. As for Richardson, or as for Levis, I think his range is anywhere from number 7 with the Las Vegas Raiders all the way through the top 20. Who knows eventually where he is going to go. But I do think all 4 of these guys are going to come off the board somewhere within the top 20. We'll just have to see how in on this quarterback class the rest of the league really is.
I think it's always interesting in that sometimes a lot of draft people want to try to predict the pick. So they want to kind of figure out exactly what Carolina is doing. But Trevor, if you were picking number 1 overall, which quarterback would you pick?
I would still be taking Bryce, and I've been standing on this table the whole time. I really would. This guy has been too good over the last 2 years for me to not pick him. You look at the other quarterbacks, and they've all got their pros and cons, and of course Bryce does as well. But his cons are all right. He's not as big as you want for the position, and the biggest con with Bryce Young in his scouting report is, well, is he going to get hurt? I'm not going to let myself pass on the best player in college football over the last couple of years on an if. I mean, anybody can get hurt in this league. It is the biggest, fastest athletes that we have in the world that come together in the NFL, and anybody can get hurt any given play, any given Sunday. So I understand that it is a concern with his durability and where his weight is, where his height is. But, man, the height didn't seem to be an issue, because when you look at smaller quarterbacks, you say, all right, they can't see over the line of scrimmage. They can't attack the middle of the field consistently. Bryce Young absolutely did that. So the only thing on his scouting report that I think is that negative is that big, is he going to get hurt? That's not enough for me to pass on him as the top choice in this class. So even if it was a what I would do situation, I'd be taking Bryce Young.
Trevor Sikkema with us, Pro Football Focus. Give him a follow at Tampa Bay Trey, TRE, on Twitter. Well, fortunately, Trevor, the Jaguars have a Trevor in the backfield at quarterback. They don't have to worry about the top of the draft this year. 2 years in a row, the number 1 overall pick. This year, a much different feel at 24th overall. So, how deep does the blue chip first-round talent actually go? Some years it's deeper than others. Where does it stand this year, in your opinion?
Man, in terms of blue chip prospects, which are those guys at the very top who, look, the NFL draft is never any sort of guarantee, but it's the guys who you think would be NFL draft or bust proof. Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, and Bijan Robinson have the tape that it feels like it tells you they are impactful enough, they are talented enough to earn that blue chip label. After that, I think there's a decent amount of first-round grades, but still, they all come with their pros and cons. This doesn't seem to be the deepest class in the NFL when it comes to those first-round grades. I wonder if teams across the league are going to have an average of somewhere around 20, whereas in other years you can get a lot closer to that 30, 35 number when it's really rich classes. And so I would say that the first round grades are probably going to be a little bit less this year, but that doesn't mean there's still not going to be some damn good defensive players, specifically on defense, I should say, that you can get in the back half of the first round, early part of the second round, because that's what it feels like the sweet spot is for a lot of these guys.
Well, it may not be a deep class for potential first-round grades, but, Trevor, the one position that seems to be incredibly deep is the cornerback position, which that's a position of need for the Jaguars. Who might be available for the Jaguars at their pick?
Yeah, so it's a great year to need a corner. I think of all shapes and sizes. It's a great year to need outside corners. It's a great year to need nickel corners because you got a wide variety of guys to choose from. I mean, I think the guys at the top, Jags probably won't have their chance to get guys like Devon Witherspoon, guys like Christian Gonzalez. I would say Joey Porter Jr. and even Devontae Banks are probably going to be off the board by the time that they pick. But if you want to take a chance on a guy like Emmanuel Forbes in the first round, he's an outside corner that could be very intriguing. But when it comes to that slot options, and that feels like that's what Jacksonville might need immediately on this roster, man, there's a lot of different guys to choose from. Brian Branch feels like the easy home run pick for the Jags if they can get him. About as reliable as they come. Comes from that Nick Saban defense at Alabama. Had so much responsibility in the slot. Played it very smart. I think the combine's freaking people out a little bit because he didn't test as well as we thought he was going to. Trust the tape on Brian Branch. He's going to be incredible in the NFL. I fully believe that. You've also got guys like Clark Phillips, a corner who's a little bit smaller, feisty, but you love him as a potential slot guy. Another safety in Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M, who's a bigger-bodied guy, can line up against those tight ends and big-bodied wide receivers. Teams love to put as the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 to the inside of the formation. There's just a lot of different guys to choose from at the slot. So even if Jags fans out there might really want a corner, and they start seeing guys run on corners early in the draft, it's okay. You can still get one at the back end of the first round that's really going to help out your secondary.
How concerned are you with Emmanuel Forbes of Mississippi State and his slight frame, let's say? What is he, $170?
Yeah, I mean, he's a $170. I feel like on a good day at this point. There's no doubt about it that he's got to get bigger. I mean, he's a great natural athlete. He's got a baseball background. It's just he's played multiple sports, and nobody's really had better ball production than him over the last couple of years. Now, of course, we know that interceptions aren't always just on the cornerback. Sometimes it's right place, right time, and that did happen plenty in Emmanuel Forbes' tape. But he's feisty. He never backs down, and sure, in run defense, you say, hey, I wish he had a little bit more strength, but it's not like a lack of willingness for him when it comes to making those plays on the ball, or at least being around the ball. You got to get him up into the at least mid-70s. Try to get up in the 180 range, because that's really what it feels like he's going to need to survive. You can't really play this guy on the outside against press coverage, because these NFL receivers, they're just too big and too fast. I'm afraid he's just going to get bullied at the line of scrimmage and at the catch point, and that's going to neutralize a lot of good things that he brings to the table. He's a really athletic dude. His recovery speed is some of the best in this class, and he's got the longer arms to really be able to affect those catch points and get forced incompletions. So there's good things about Forbes, but to your point, there's no doubt about it. The weight is an issue, and I do think we got to get that up a little bit if he's going to be able to achieve what he wants to at the NFL level.
And there's a lot of philosophies when it comes to kind of putting your plan together as far as drafting. And one of the plans that most teams may take, because the corner class is deep, they may choose to wait and try to get one later on. Offensive line, the big guys are always kind of few and far between. How does the offensive line class look for a Jaguar possibility of them picking one there at 24?
Yeah, I think that this is certainly, if they want an offensive tackle, there is a decent chance that they could get a good one there in the mid-20s, because for a long time we've been talking about these big three with offensive tackle: Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnson Jr., and Broderick Jones. I would expand it to a big five. I really think that you could throw Darnell Wright in there, and you can throw Anton Harrison in there as well. Both of those players talented enough to be early starters in the NFL. They both got experience. They're both battle tested. And I think that creates a big five of offensive tackles that we could all see go in the first round. And maybe there'll be a super early run like we saw a couple of years ago with the Jedrick Wills and Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton class. But there's still a chance. I think one of those guys could be available for the Jags. So you're losing Juwan Taylor. You might want to replace him. I know they got Walker Little, but if you want to get some more offensive tackle talent in there, they could definitely hit that in the first round. I think that's plausible.
If it's down to Darnell Wright of Tennessee and DeJuan Jones of Ohio State, which way would you lean?
Oh, man, I would easily be putting in the card for Darnell Wright. He is one of my favorite players in this class. I've got him as the second-rated offensive tackle in this class, so he's OT2 on my board. I just feel like he's a five-star recruit, so he's got that athletic background, that high pedigree coming into Tennessee. He was so battle-tested this past year against some of the best pass rushers in the SEC: B.J. Ojulari, Will Anderson, and the list could go on and on. He is a big, mean offensive tackle who loves to take the fight to the pass rushers that are coming at him. He is the embodiment of the phrase that you hear all the time, that pass protection isn't passive. He'll, get into his kick slide a little bit, but if you're taking a little while, if you're trying to get too many steps of steam to convert that speed to power, he'll stick his arm out, he'll punch you right in the chest, and he'll make sure that you feel him very early and often. So I just feel like his demeanor, his mentality, his anchor ability, and also how well he moves his feet when he wants to, he feels like the total package at offensive tackle. So I got him at OT2 in this class. You get him in the 20s, that's a steal to me.
Jalen Carter is kind of a big question mark in this draft, Trevor, and where do you see him going? A little question about his background, but I don't think there's any question about his talent.
No, on the field, again, blue chip player. I mean, there's just not many who can disrupt from the three technique position that he does. And so when you look at where he's going to go in this draft, I think the over under right now, depending on where you look, it's around 6.5, 7.5. I think that's right, because right before 6.5, you get the Lions sitting at 6, you get the Seahawks sitting at 5, and just after that, you got a handful of teams. Atlanta sitting there at 8, certainly Philadelphia sitting there at 10, Chicago at 9, Tennessee at 11. All of these teams would want a player like Jalen Carter. So I feel like that range is about correct. You'll say the top 12, no matter what. It feels like a lock unless we learn something else about some off-the-field things with Jalen Carter. But as of right now, I would tell you, I still believe he's going to be a top 8 pick. I still feel as though one of the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks at 5 or 6 are going to be the ones to pull the trigger on.
Boy, can you imagine Detroit fans having Aiden Hutchinson last year and then Jalen Carter this year? I mean, an outside guy, an inside guy. Holy cow, would they be happy?
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
And it's not just them either. You got Aleem McNeil on that defensive line. You got James Houston, who's going crazy with the sacks last year as well. Yep. So that makes one hell of a pass rush group. They can add Carter to that, no doubt
They're
about it.
not on the schedule next year, are they? Lions? I don't think so.
Didn't go so well in Detroit.
No, it didn't last year, for sure. Hey, Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus. What do you guys have the next couple of weeks leading into the draft?
Oh, man, we got all sorts of good stuff. Of course, the final mock drafts, the final big boards, our final predictions. And as we learn about what we think is going to happen on draft day, we're letting everybody know over at pff.com and on our podcast show as well, the NFL Stock Exchange podcast.
Give him a follow at Tampa Bay Trey. If you don't, I don't know why you don't. He's a fantastic follow on Twitter, and you guys do a great job at Pro Football Focus. Thanks for the time, Trevor.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
Trevor Sikkema, PFF, joining us, getting ready for the draft, and that's a good visit right there.
Well, first of all, he's you can tell that he studied and he pays attention and he follows everything. But most importantly, PFF's website is. I was telling you earlier, when I watch college film on one particular guy, for example, I was watching Hendon Hooker, and they're playing the Alabama. And so I said, okay, let me see who is on Alabama's the draftable grades. And so you pull up the guys on defense, and with PFF, you can actually go to the school and say, okay, Alabama, and it will list exactly every draftable guy and where their ranking is on the draft and the position and the breakdown. So when I watch the film, and, of course, with Alabama, it's kind of ridiculous, JP, because when you watch their defense, there's like 8 guys that have a draftable grade.
Next year, the rest of them.
But PFF's got a great website. Their draft analysis stuff is really nice for reference stuff. You can pick best available player, all positions. You can narrow it down to single positions. They got a really user-friendly website if people are interested in checking it out and being kind of a little bit of a draftnik. I strongly recommend PFF's draft website.
I strongly recommend dailiesplace.com. It's where you can get tickets and a full list of shows coming up, and it starts tomorrow. Kenny Chesney at Daly's Place. Packed house expected tomorrow night. And Daly's Place has something for everyone. Old Dominion, Tedeschi Trucks Band, Yellow Card, Wu-Tang Clan, and much, much more on the schedule. Visit dailiesplace.com and check it out. In a moment, Lageman, you've been grinding in the film room, it sounds like.
Cornerbacks.
We'll get into which defensive back could be best. That's next on Jaguars Happy Hour.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Travel Camp RV, official RV dealer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, invites you to come shop their huge selection of inventory for your dream RV. With locations across the Southeast, you're sure to find them close by. Get value pricing on the top RV brands in the country, paired with the guaranteed best financing options available. You can also shop their inventory at travelcamp.com. Travel Camp RV has helped more families make more great memories in an RV since 1982. They're excited to add you to the Travel Camp RV family today.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
As the official dentist of the Jacksonville Jaguars, ASAP Dental is a champion of the dental game. Let them win you over with full-service dental care and the same-day smile you deserve. Open 7 days a week, ASAP Dental has 8 locations to serve you in the Northeast Florida area. So come see them today. With their exceptional experience and care, you're always treated as the MVP. Visit asapdentalcare.com or call 904-500-2727 to book your appointment today.
Reconnect with the best version of you at Amara Med Spa, Northeast Florida's premier luxury medical spa, located in Ponte Vedra, Town Center, Avondale, St. Augustine, and Fernandina. With the most advanced injectors, estheticians, and technology, Amara Med Spa is redefining beauty, offering services such as Botox and filler, M-Sculpt Neo, painless laser hair removal, and advanced skincare treatments. Visit theamaramedspa.com and book a complimentary consultation today.
The station that the Jaguars listen to, 1010XL. Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep. I can see I see my name in there. Oh yeah, there it is. That's funny as hell. I'm over there looking, my name is right on the down. That's dope. Love that. I really love that. I seen that from the road. I seen that from the highway, from the bridge. Really is here, no doubt.
That is Calvin Ridley on The Hunt, available now on the Jaguars YouTube page and Jaguars.com. Episode 1 of the offseason is up, and it's 13 minutes or so? Really in-depth at the NFL Scouting Combine with GM Trent Baalke, head coach Doug Peterson, and the process of getting the offseason started, including Calvin Ridley being reinstated and arriving in Jacksonville. And as you heard, seeing his name on the video board for the first time really got to him. He said he's going to send a picture to his mom.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And he's already jumped right on the number 0.
He was, I think, the first one in the league. Like, when the rule changed, like 10 minutes later, Jaguars social media, by the way, congratulations to them, really putting it all together. The digital side, everybody made it work. And he was the first one. Boom, he's out, number 0.
The equipment guy should have put it out to bid.
Could have right? a little side kitty.
I guarantee you they would have raised a lot of good money for charity if they said, okay, guys, number 0 is now available. We're taking bids, and the proceeds are going to go to the Jaguars Foundation.
Oh, yeah. See?
Right? That would have been a great idea.
I thought you were insinuating that the equipment staff was going to keep it all. All the money.
50-50 split.
Go to the Jags Equipment Fund.
It's like a 50-50 raffle like the Jaguars Foundation does on game day.
No, those guys.
50% goes to the guys in the equipment room, 50% goes to the foundation.
That's how it would work. Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to help the guys out in the equipment room.
Well, maybe Calvin was like, here's the money, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, they should have put it out for bid.
Excited to hear from Calvin Ridley, by the way. We haven't
I'm excited to see him.
Bucky Brooks had the conversation with him when he arrived, and he has not spoken with the media yet here in Jacksonville. I think they're expected to have some media time maybe next week, and I think Calvin might be one of those guys.
Oh, I'm sure he will. And I'm sure he's excited to get back to work and kind of put everything kind of behind him and focus in on the future. But look, he's been a wonderful player, and his work ethic, from what everybody tells me, is that it's outstanding, and that's a real positive. And he's been a top level player. He's a number 1 type wide receiver, and with the Jaguars' current wide receiving core and the tight end, I mean, look, this could be a great situation, and Trevor would have a whole array of weapons to choose from, and that's exactly what you want for a young, talented quarterback.
I'm going to kind of go off the cuff here, and a little trivia for you, Log. See if you're good at NFL history, offensive history.
Okay.
The last NFL team with 3 offensive players over 1,000 receiving yards.
That's a great question. I don't know.
2008 Arizona Cardinals.
With Larry.
That's right. And they were the 5th all-time to do it. There's only been 5.
Did the Redskins, when they had the fun bunch, do it?
1989.
That's what I thought. And the Cardinals, and I'm trying to think who the other wide receivers were. It was Larry Fitzgerald.
Anquan Bolden.
Steve
Breston had just over 1,000 yards.
Breston.
Breston.
Yeah. Who are the other teams?
1980, San Diego, Kellen Winslow, John Jefferson, Charlie Joyner.
And that was actually a tight end and 2 wide receivers.
That's right.
Yep.
So that's why I said 3 offensive options.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. What else you got?
89, Washington, Art Monk, Ricky Sanders, Gary Clark. 95, Atlanta, Eric Metcalf, Terrence Mathis, Bert Emanuel.
And that was Jerry Glanville, and what did they call that? It was June Jones. What did they call that offense?
Oh, gosh.
It was the running gun. It wasn't running.
I don't remember.
It was. They had a name for that type of offense, but I can't remember what it was called.
04, Indy, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Brandon Stokely.
Yeah. Okay.
About that?
Yeah. That's a good one.
We'll see if the Jags can add to that.
Yeah. Well, no. Look.
Why not?
It's all about the wins. It's not about having 3 guys at 1,000 yards. And so if you win, everybody's happy.
You could run the ball 7 million times. Who cares? Just win.
Did any of those teams win the Super Bowl? Did the 89 Redskins win the Super Bowl?
Was that one of their 3?
Might have been.
Might have been. I don't remember. Run and shoot. It was a run and no.
Run and shoot?
No, that was Houston.
I can't remember what it was.
Either way, all right. Hey, let's transition now on Jaguars Happy Hour, 1010XL AM, Jaguars.com, Jags social media, JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. It's draft time. We're 2 weeks away, and we're doing a week-by-week positional breakdown. Last week it was the quarterbacks logs. This week we're going to defense. We talked a little with Trevor Sikkema a moment ago of Pro Football Focus about the cornerback position. It's a position of need for the Jags.
Well, it really is, and watching these guys, because everybody's saying that that's one of the deepest drafts that there has been in recent memory when it comes to that position, cornerback. The 2 guys at the top, I think you can put them 1-2 and flip them and go 2-1. It doesn't matter. These guys are really good, and it's Witherspoon from Illinois, who is a little bit smaller player, but this guy, I love him, plays hard. He plays the nickel extremely well. He's an excellent blitzer. He's physical. He is controlled violence, and he also can make plays on the ball. And this is a guy that I think changes the culture just because of the way he plays the game. Love him. The other one right there at the top with him is Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez from Oregon, and he's a young player now. He's 20 years old, but he's got the height, he's got the size, he's got the hips, he is fluid, he's got excellent ball skills. This guy can play man. I think he can even get better with some of his press coverage, but this guy can play. If there was one of those 2 that I had to pick with the more upside, I would probably pick Gonzalez just because he's younger. He's got the natural hips, and I think he's got better shutdown ability. But Witherspoon is just such a dynamite package of energy. I think he's right there at the top, and he's one of those guys that you'd be willing to bet on just because he's kind of a can't-miss prospect. The next guy that I would put on that list has a famous last name.
He certainly does. NFL bloodlines for Joey Porter Jr. Hey, guess what? He's the son of Joey Porter Sr.,
who was a really good football player for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Imagine that.
But he didn't play corner.
No.
Okay,
far from it.
Porter is interesting. Nittany Lion. He is very long. He's a 6'3"-ish guy. He doesn't have what I would call quick change of direction. He's more of he plays excellent press coverage. I don't think there's anybody in the draft that's better at getting up in a receiver's face and playing press coverage man than Porter. He's outstanding from that aspect. But there are some areas that he could probably work on and be a little bit better at. One of them is the physical nature of the game. He does miss some tackles. He doesn't have that short area quickness, and sometimes in zone coverage he's not quick enough to react. But the man coverage is where he really excels. And he's got the height, he's got the length, he's got the speed. He can make plays on the ball, but his ball skills are not that of Gonzalez, I don't think. But nonetheless, this is a guy that was raised in an NFL home, essentially. So I think he's going to also have the mindset to be able to handle the NFL. Now, the next guy is a little different, and that's Deonte Banks at Maryland. This is a guy that's real physical, and I think he's got to learn to tone it down a little bit because sometimes he's a little bit overly physical, but he does a really good job of mirroring guys. I think he's a nice combination of a guy that could play some man and some zone.
What do you mean overly physical? Why is that bad?
Well, in the NFL, they'll call a lot of flags. In college, they don't call quite as much, in my opinion. In the NFL, he's going to get a lot of interference calls of the way he plays the game because he's a hands-on type of defensive back, and that works to an extent. But you can't rely on that, and I think he's a little bit too much. But he's still an excellent prospect. I think he's a dynamite player, and he's physical, but he's not of the caliber of Witherspoon from Illinois. Witherspoon from Illinois is like on a whole nother level of physicality and his ability to blitz. And but I like him. I think he's going to be a really high-quality player in this league. The next guy is Cam Smith, who happened to be in for a visit with the Jaguars this week. The reports
That's right.
were.
Reports say. Sources say.
South Carolina guy, kind of got all the measurables. He's physical. He's fast. You know, most of these cornerbacks, if you're not running 4.4, you're not playing corner anymore. You know, you're going to be playing safety, but he's got all of the measurables. He's got the broad jump. He's got the numbers from interceptions. And I think he's just a good, solid, safe prospect. Does he have great ball skills? He's got really good ball skills. He's kind of got one of those. If you had to say what's the great thing that he does, I would just say across the board in every category, this guy does well. I don't think he is exceptional in any one category. You know, like with Porter, it's the bump. With Witherspoon, it's the ball skills, the hips. With Gonzalez. With Witherspoon, it's the physical nature of the game. But I really like the way that Cam Smith plays the game. And then the last guy that I'll mention here is he's a teeny guy.
Yeah, we mentioned that with Trevor Sikkema a moment ago. The size of Emmanuel Forbes of Mississippi State.
He might be. No, I'll go so far as say that he's got the best ball skills, I think, of any cornerback in the draft.
6 career interceptions returned for a touchdown at Mississippi State. That's an FBS career record.
This guy, I'm just telling you, he's like a little gnat that can flat out fly. I mean, they report him at like 166. And Trevor earlier was talking about 170 maybe. You guys were talking about that 170 number. I don't think he's at 170. I mean, he's pencil thin.
He ran a 4.35 40 at the combine.
He can roll.
Yeah.
Okay, he can play man. He's got excellent ball skills. Once he gets his hands on it, I mean, he is an offensive weapon. And I didn't even look at his film, and I don't know if he does or not. Does he return punts? I mean, this is a guy that when he intercepts the ball, this is a hold your breath guy, kind of like Deion Sanders when he's got his hands on the ball because he could do things with it. But he's an excellent player. Can he get a little bit bigger? You know, everybody always likes to forecast and say, yeah, he can put on a few pounds, be a little bit more physical. But look, if he can still play at a high level, 170 pounds, I mean, that'll be fine. You know, a lot of times they don't expect corners to be like Witherspoon and be blitzing off the edge and hammering guys in the backfield. But I like Emmanuel Forbes, and I think the team that gets him is going to be incredibly happy, and they're going to be amazed at some of the things that he can do as far as attacking the ball, because the guys that make plays on the ball, those are the guys that change the game.
We'll see if the Jaguars are in play at 24 at cornerback. Excuse me, not quarterback, cornerback. Defensive back for the Jags. 24th overall. We'll see what happens 2 weeks from tonight. Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. They've been trusted by their customers for almost 40 years. So trust them to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Reports of an agreement to sell the Washington Commanders. That's next on Around the NFL, and this is Jaguars Happy Hour.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
The Ford Spring Sellathon is here. It's the one sales event you don't want to miss. Time to get up and get into Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks 46 years straight. Get a great deal on a new Ford F-150 with available Pro Power onboard that gives you the power of a mobile generator. Or get low financing on a spacious new Ford SUV designed to help you make the most out of the extra daylight. But don't wait. These deals won't last long. It's the Spring Sellathon, only at your local Ford dealer. Based on 1977 to 2022 CY total sales.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony. Jaguars Today. All Jaguars, all NFL, all the time. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Welcome back, Jaguars Happy Hour. If you're watching us on Jaguars.com and Jaguars social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, thank you, first of all. And it's a live look outside at the Miller Electric Center construction project. We are closing in on the June 30th handing over the keys to the Jags. The grading and the everything in the field looks like it's underway, and next up will be grass, and then the building will be finished, and then the Jags will move in there, and they'll have training camp there.
I did notice that they're hanging drywall, so that's a good thing.
They're moving right along. By the way, the off-season program and OTA practices will be held on the game field inside the stadium as they were last year. Obviously, when this was under construction, the practice fields will not be ready yet for the off-season program. We are told, will be ready for training camp in July.
I wonder how they're going to do that. Will they seed it? Will they bring in rolls of grass, sod? My guess is they'll probably...
I would guess the rolls.
Yeah, probably roll it.
Yeah. And it's going to be, as I understood it when I was out there the other week, a completely flat surface, no crowns.
Well, great drainage.
Right.
They've got the built-in drainage underneath that allows them to not have a crown, which years ago, the best field I ever played on was in Baltimore, and it was a hybrid natural grass that was mixed with artificial, and they had a great drainage system. The stadium itself was in total disrepair because it was when
Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, Cleveland left Cleveland, or the Ravens left Cleveland, came to Baltimore, and so while the new stadium was being built, they were playing at Memorial. but the playing surface itself was the best I ever played on in my entire career.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. It was flat, great drainage. It was fast. It had great traction. And I don't know exactly what that surface was called, but it was the best I ever played on.
How about that?
Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of the fields that played on earlier in the career, they had that noticeable crown. And as a defensive end, a lot of times you felt like you were running uphill because
you literally were.
You were, to
right.
some extent. And Tampa had a field at the old ball field that what was it called back then?
You're talking about the sombrero.
Sombrero, and then even the sombrero was like a huge crown. Because, all the Florida rains, and I guess they didn't have the built-in system to be able to handle the drainage.
Well, this has it. And they can, change the orientation of the fields and keep the grass growing and
fresh,
all that stuff.
Yeah, rotate it so you don't get the same ruts in the same spot.
A lot of great men and women doing work over there on the construction project too, and the finish line is in sight for sure. Let's go around the NFL, and a report from Sportico today that Dan Snyder has apparently reached an agreement in principle to sell the Commanders for $6 billion to a group led by Philadelphia 76ers owner Josh Harris, billionaire Mitchell Rales, and former Lakers star Magic Johnson. It would be the highest price ever paid for a sports team, overtaking the $4.6 billion that was paid for the Broncos last year.
Well, and if you look at price comparison, the Walmart family did a lot better than this little purchase here in Washington because Denver has a great stadium situation. The Washington Commanders still have to figure out the stadium situation moving forward in the future. Many people expected Jeff Bezos, the founder and owner of Amazon, to get involved with the bidding process, and reports are now that he will not be in the process at all. So I think Daniel Snyder was hoping maybe that he would get involved here towards the end and would push the price up even higher, but a lot of money to pay for an NFL franchise, but here's the reality. The values just keep going up.
Yeah, quickly. Really quickly.
I mean, think about that. The Denver Broncos has been a great franchise. And look, Washington is a heritage franchise.
Sure.
I mean, it's one of the original football teams. But the Denver Broncos have a lot of familiarity with their stadium, the fan bases there, the positivity. And with Daniel Snyder, there's not a lot of positivity that surrounds the Washington franchise. So there's going to be a lot of change in Washington as things move forward with new ownership. And hopefully it happens, because if the sale doesn't happen, there's a problem. Because Daniel Snyder is not well liked by his peers in the National Football League right now. And I think most of the ownership in the National Football League is quietly wishing that he would sell the team today.
Lamar Jackson news. Ravens GM Eric DeCosta said that, quote, Lamar's in our plans and our feelings about Lamar have not changed one bit since the end of the season. That was, end quote, at the Odell Beckham press conference, where Beckham said that today the goal was to come here and have that possibility to play with him. There were no promises made of that happening, he said, Odell said, but that's not really new news. There's just a new soundbite or two. That's it.
Well, credit to the Ravens, first off, that they had this press conference to announce the signing of Odell Beckham Jr., but they make their head coach and general manager available for all questions, which is the classy way to go about business in Baltimore, or in any NFL franchise wants to take a lesson in the right way to do things, is to allow the media to ask questions of OBJ, but then also of Eric DeCosta and Harbaugh about the situation with Lamar Jackson. So credit to the Ravens organization and ownership, because that's where it starts.
And still no new news on the Packers-Jets Aaron Rodgers situation. You can tune into any other outlet for that.
What a circus.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I wish that they would just get that resolved.
I mean, it feels like that's after the draft. Like, they want to wait until that first round's over, and then they won't trade this year's first rounder.
I just wish it would be better for the league if that whole mystery was settled and done, and Rodgers is going to the Jets, and they got the draft pick that they wanted in Green Bay.
I mean,
and let the league move on.
They got a schedule to put together, guys. So
and that's another important thing.
It's coming up soon. Out next week.
Out next week.
We'll see you at draft night then.
You got it. Looking forward to it.
That's 2 weeks
Saturday
from tonight.
night.
That's Jeff Lageman. I'm JP Shadrick. Thanks to our entire crew. Thanks to Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, for joining us. And thank you for listening and watching. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.